So today we're going to talk about solid waste, and there are all kinds of municipal solid waste that we're going to talk about. So let's just get right into it. Um, so there's industrial solid waste, obviously coming from industry, and that can come from all kinds of stuff. So whether it's manufacturing industry or mining or farms, there's all kinds of waste that comes from anything that you do, really. There's municipal solid waste, so that's trash like household, school, office trash. And then hazardous waste, which we'll talk about later, but hazardous waste is pretty toxic, and it can affect human health. And there are all kinds of stuff that's in there, and we will talk about that in a different PowerPoint. So most wastes are produced by developed countries. So the U.S. has lots of trash, and so we produce about 258 million tons of municipal solid waste per year. And so while we do recycle 89 million tons, um, that's a lot left over. So, do the math if you want some practice. Ha ha ha. Anyway, so for 319 million people, we produce that much trash. So how many tons of trash per person? Again, you can do the math. So here's a little, math interlude if you so wish to take it. But I'm going to move forward for the sake of this video. What makes up municipal solid waste? So a lot of it is paper, which is recyclable, glass, metal, plastic, also recyclable. There's a lot of food waste that's in our trash, yard trimmings, wood, and then rubber, leather, textiles. We'll talk about textiles more later. Um, but the majority of it is paper and food. And so, we have definitely increased the amount of trash that we've generated over the years. But, it's, if you look at the difference between how much trash we're generating and how much trash each person is generating, you can see that that really has to do with our increase in population and not really our increase in how much trash we're throwing away. And so, how do we get rid of the solid waste? Really, beyond just tossing it in the garbage can, where is it going after that? And so, we can bury it, we can burn it, we can reuse it, or we could produce less, which, of course, is the best way to get rid of solid waste is to not have it in the first place. But when we do have it, let's, talk about how do we manage that. We want to reduce how much harm that would cause us. If we just toss trash in our backyard, there's all kinds of issues that would come along with that. And so we're looking at the terms. Waste management is talking about what are we doing with that waste, but not really reducing the amount. Whereas waste reduction, we're focusing on actually reducing the amount of waste that we put into the stream. And then finally, integrated waste management can use a different variety of strategies between management and reduction. And so there are all different kinds of components to integrated waste management. So obviously you have processing and manufacturing that will give us different kinds of waste. So all the different kinds of waste that we have: garden, paper, cans, mixed waste, hazardous waste, and all of those are dealt with accordingly. Um, and so, this would be kind of a closed cycle of um, of waste management to kind of integrate the waste that we're producing and use it in a certain way that will bring it back into the manufacturing cycle again. So, beyond integrated waste management, we have solid waste, and there are 3 different ways that we can deal with solid waste. You can go through landfills, recycling, and incineration. And so we can bury, burn, or reuse it. And We're going to focus in on landfills right now. And so landfills are really compacting and burying waste under a shallow layer of soil. And so we put soil over it for many reasons. A lot of it is to keep the rodents and the birds out of it, try and reduce, the wind from picking up garbage and carrying it away. And this is the most common method of disposal. That's what we use here in Stamford, unfortunately. But you can see that here's a basic landfill construction. And so you have these cells, and so the garbage is put into cells, and as they're put in, ultimately you end up kind of surrounding them with that soil. Um, and so that soil, like I said, will reduce all kinds of issues. Once those cells are made, they actually put pipes through them to collect that methane gas, because as the garbage is decomposing, it's no longer exposed to oxygen, and so therefore we're not going to create carbon dioxide through decomposition, but actually methane, because there's no exposure to oxygen. So, as a landfill is actually built, it is done in a very specific way. So you can see the groundwater is here, and then what they do is they actually they put a layer of clay down at the bottom, or some kind of impervious surface, so that all of this leachate, so the nasty garbage drippings that drip down to the bottom, don't actually contaminate the groundwater. They try and contain that in this pit here. Then they layer it with all kinds of stuff. Um, so as you can see down here, you have the subsoil with the groundwater beneath it. Like I said, clay or some other sort of impervious liner, sand, another liner, more sand, and then garbage on top of it. Remember, sand has a very high infiltration rate. So within these sand layers, you actually have these tubes with holes in them to collect the leachate. The leachate will then be collected, dripped down, pumped up to a storage tank, and then treated up here. And here is yet another picture to look at leachate collection and recovery. So again, right, the leachate collection layer, you have sand with the tubing, and the pipe, sorry, it's really a pipe. And then it gets pumped up to a treatment system. And there are all kinds of problems that come along with landfills. And so you produce methane gas, like I said, produced by the bacteria that are breaking down that garbage. And it can be very volatile, it's very flammable. And so we need to collect that somehow. And if we collect it, we can actually then burn it to turn some turbines and generate electricity. So that's actually not a bad thing, but it'd be better if we didn't have the methane in the first place. The surface and groundwater can get contaminated by leachate, so those liners and the caps, the cap after a landfill is done, actually can, somehow get compromised and possibly leach into the water, the surface water and the groundwater. Um, Landfills aren't a long-term remedy for our trash, because at some point they're going to get full and we're going to keep on producing trash. And so we need to keep opening facilities. And, closing a landfill is very expensive, because ultimately you need to ensure the stability and environmental impact is positive. And so, once the landfill is closed, you can then do other things with the land, but, not much.